It was a great moment for us to highlight the fact that the Liberal Party is continuing to put forward a positive mission, a positive vision, a positive vision for what this country can be and what needs to be, and contrast that with a government that has for 10 years focused on the politics of fear and division.
First question, look, it looks like a TPP deal may be imminent in the next couple of hours. Mr. Mulcair said he wouldn't be bound by a deal. I think you may have said in the past you would support it, but might have certain concerns about aspects of it. Would you ratify a deal?
The Liberal Party is a pro-trade party. We understand how important trade is for economic growth, for creating jobs, and we will of course look at the details of the deal when it comes out, and there's no point speculating on what might or might not happen hours away from actually seeing what's going to happen.
What particular issues, though, sir, will you be watching for if there is indeed a deal when you take a look at it?
We'll obviously ensure that Canadian interests are being protected. This is a deal that highlights and involves 3 of 5 of our largest trading partners in the world. It's an important deal for jobs and for Canadian economic growth. We will, of course, evaluate and look at what's in the deal. But the fact is, the Prime Minister has continued to say that he has protected Canadian interests, including supply management. Of course, the problem is that he has been secretive and non-transparent in this, and we need to make sure that we're actually, indeed, creating a trade deal that is good for Canadians.
Is there a deal breaker in this?
Yes, I'm from Ryerson University. For all the university students out there, why is this so important they should vote Liberal?
This is an opportunity to actually set the country on a better course. We've had 10 years of a government that doesn't listen to Canadians, hasn't engaged with Canadians, doesn't trust Canadians, so Canadians are wondering why they should trust this government. We need to turn around and be open and transparent and put forward a real plan for economic growth, to put more money in the pockets of the middle class, to help people working hard to join the middle class, and to build the kind of future that we know Canada is able to create for itself and for others. The fact is, young people need to take a part in this election, and we're seeing that right across the country.
En français, sur l'entente possible, est-ce que vous vous sentez lié par un entente qui serait signée aujourd'hui?
Le Parti libéral du Canada est toujours un parti qui est en faveur des accords commerciaux, en faveur du commerce international. Nous attendons à ce que cet accord annoncé par M. Harper, quand il sera terminé, sera dans les intérêts du Canada. Il nous a toujours assuré qu'il allait défendre la gestion de l'offre et d'autres intérêts qu'ont les Canadiens. Mais nous savons qu'en même temps, on est en train de créer un accord qui va toucher 3 de nos 5 plus gros partenaires commerciaux. Et nous devons de créer cette croissance économique et les emplois qui vont venir avec. Des industries à fort taux d'exportation payent en moyenne 50% plus cher en salaire aux Canadiens de la classe moyenne. Les accords commerciaux, c'est bon pour notre pays.
Is there anything in the TPP that would be a deal breaker for your party?
You know what, we're hours away from seeing what may be in the TPP. I'm not going to speculate or hypothesize on this. I look forward to continuing to demonstrate that the Liberal Party has been consistent, that we are a pro-trade party. We believe that it's good for creating jobs, good for growth in the economy, and that's what we're going to look at.
Were continuing the negotiations during the campaign acceptable for you, sir?
These are some of the largest economies in the world coming together to sign a deal. It is important that Canada be part of it. What I am disappointed with is that this Prime Minister has chosen, instead of understanding that this is a moment for us to debate the different issues on the table, has continued to show a level of secrecy and non-transparency that means that we don't know how he is negotiating. We're simply having to trust him on his word.
In the communities, there's a lot of people saying, like in a small community like the Spanish community where I belong to, they say that it doesn't really matter who you vote for because they have to work anyways, and politics always politics. What can you tell them, the people who doesn't want to vote because they don't see any difference between candidates?
Well, I think the fact is that for 10 years we've had a government that has failed Canadians with the lowest record on growth of any Prime Minister since the 1930s, with the worst record on job creation of any prime minister since World War II. Mr. Harper has not delivered what Canadians expect from a Canadian government. That's why we have a plan to put more money in the pockets of Canadians every single month, lower taxes for the middle class by raising them on the wealthiest 1%, and historic investments in infrastructure that's going to make our communities work better, with better public transit and better social infrastructure and green infrastructure.
Sir, why
Mr. Trudeau, you've got a big challenge here, excuse me, to take the 905 back. But some of your candidates seem to be getting some blowback at the doorstep on the sex ed question from Premier Wynne. Your close allegiance with Premier Wynne, it's possible it's going to cause you some problems out here in the 905?
I've been very clear that I'm willing to work with premiers across the country, and I'm very pleased to have the strong support of our cousins here in Ontario and the Liberal Party of Ontario. We are focused on defeating Stephen Harper, whose narrow vision for this country, based on fear and division, rather than pulling people together, is what the Liberal Party has been doing for the past years, and that's what we're going to continue working hard at right up until Election Day. We're not taking anything for granted, and we are getting out and talking with Canadians who want real change and showing them that the Liberal Party is the only party with a strong platform for real change.
Monsieur Trudeau, la bataille s'est littéralement transportée en Ontario aujourd'hui. Monsieur Mulcair était ici aujourd'hui aussi. Est-ce que vous avez l'impression qu'ici, tout pourrait se jouer dans cette province?
On était au Québec tous ensemble il y a quelques jours et on sûrement va se retrouver à différents moments à travers le pays. Les prochaines semaines vont être un moment pour moi, pour le parti, d'aller gagner, mériter la confiance des Canadiens en démontrant qu'on a un plan concret pour aider la classe moyenne, pour faire croître l'économie, pour créer des emplois. C'est notre engagement ferme et c'est ce que nous allons faire d'ici les élections.
Mr. Trudeau, you said that you're expecting every dirty trick in the book to be thrown at you over the next couple of weeks and wondering how you fight back. Do you go negative yourself?
I have said from the very beginning that the Liberal Party will stay positive. We do not believe that the politics of nastiness, of personal attacks, have their place in the Canadian electoral context. This is Canada. We are a hopeful, ambitious, open people who don't want to spend our time knocking each other down. We want to be building up our neighbours and our future. And I think what I've heard from Canadians right across this country is they are tired of the kind of pettiness and nastiness that has characterized Mr. Harper's governance and Mr. Harper's campaigning. It's time for a positive vision, a positive alternative, and we will stay with a positive, hopeful vision of what this country can and must be.
Sir, why the niqab issues have become so important when there are other issues, employment, jobs? Why the Prime Minister is pushing hard?
The Prime Minister has to distract Canadians from the fact that his economic approach has failed. That Canadians haven't seen the kind of growth and opportunity, that his insistence on giving tax breaks and benefits to the wealthiest Canadians instead of helping the middle class is something that he needs to distract from. And he does what he always does. Plays fear, plays division, sets communities against one another, and that's not worthy of a country that is strong, not in spite of our differences, but because of our differences. That's why we're staying strong and focused on growing our economy, creating jobs, and strengthening the middle class.
Thank you, everybody.